Congressman, as we have just said, you served in the House here for more than 3 decades. How much have things changed in the tone of the day-to-day discussion on the floor, in the personal relationships between lawmakers?
Well, they've changed in a couple of ways, temporarily for the worse, but people shouldn't overdo that. In 2000, I became chairman of the committee in 2007. I had 4 fairly constructive years, 2 of which were during the Bush presidency. And I had a very good relationship with the Bush administration officials, with Sheila Bair, who was the head of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, with Ben Bernanke, the head of the Federal Reserve, with Hank Paulson, Secretary of the Treasury, 3 major appointees of President Bush. And we took the crisis in 2008 and we were able to work together. Then in 2009 and 2010, it was more partisan. The breakdown is fairly recent. The breakdown came in part because of the Senate filibuster, and that's become very dysfunctional. It's one thing if you filibuster occasionally. It's another if every bill takes 60 votes. That's contributed to dysfunction. Even more, though, was the victory in 2010 within the Republican Party of a very angry group of people who don't believe in governance and who believe that you shouldn't cooperate. A man just won the Republican nomination in Indiana for the Senate against Richard Lugar, a very distinguished senator, and he said the problem is we have too much bipartisan cooperation. Now, partisanship is legitimate. People should have their positions. And you start from your position, but then you try to get a compromise that preserves as much of your position as possible. Some people don't understand that bipartisanship is got to be the product of 2 sets of partisans trying to reach an agreement. But that anger and that disbelief in the function of government's been a problem. The last thing that's hurt us is the media, and in particular the new media. 20 years ago, people were still getting their information from common sources. Today, the media is fractured. It's cable TV, it's talk radio, and it's the internet. So the great majority of people who are politically active do not get the same information. People on the left get their information from the left, people on the right get it from the right. They exist in kind of parallel echo chambers in which they are led to believe that everybody agrees with them. And if you think the people who are on your side are in the majority, you're very critical when people who represent your side compromise. Well, why would you compromise if you have a majority? We would say, no, we don't have the majority. Oh, we're told, how can you say that? Because everybody I know thinks the same. There is a polarization in the society that has been greatly reinforced in the political society, greatly reinforced by the polarization in media.
Do you think there's any way to bridge that gap?
Yes, we will still have some of that polarization, but it would be, and it's a one-sided argument. The kind of Republicans who we have been able to work together with, the people in the Bush administration, people like Senator Lugar who got defeated, former Senator Bennett in Utah, they got to come back into power. As long as the dominant wing of the Republican Party are people who don't believe in governance and think compromise is betrayal, then we won't get out of it. The solution, I feel it'll help us about it. It really depends on what happens in Republican primaries and in the November election. If this very right-wing group of people who now control the House of Representatives are rewarded with political gains in November, then this situation will become entrenched. If the Republicans want to lose ground in November, then it would change.